Mm-hmm.
Now, the truth may not fit what you believe, but it's the truth as I know it. With it being the truth as I know it, that's all I can tell.
So have you ever, I'm going to assume they must photograph these beings, right?
There's photographs.
Okay. And what about you? Do you ever draw them? Do you have drawings of them?
Yeah, I got some drawings.
And have you distributed?
No.
Are you able, at liberty, to give them out at all? Or show them?
Some I have and some I haven't.
Uh-huh. And are you familiar with underground bases?
And the technology that goes along with it.
Okay. And so I'm going to assume you've been to underground bases yourself.
Not by choice.
Not by choice. That's believable. But have you also seen, say, reptilians, what's called, in the UFO community,
subspecies
reptilians?
that we call reptilian, yes.
Mm-hmm. And are you able to communicate with them telepathically?
They can communicate with you.
Okay.
It's hard to explain. You can't keep secrets.
Sure.
And the other thing I'd remind everyone is the program is geared and set up to where you only know what you have a need to know. And a lot of times you know more than what you're supposed to know. Mm-hmm. But you don't know everything.
Sure.
And I reiterate, anybody that tells you that they know everything is a liar. It's not true.
Do you have any special alien friends that have remained with you throughout, that are with you today, communicating?
I mentioned one.
I'm sorry?
I mentioned one.
One. Okay, that would be Corona?
Correct.
Okay. And Corona is, do you know what planet he's from?
Mm-mm.
You don't? Okay.
I know it's about 100 light years away from here, because I always use that as an example.
Okay.
Real time, from the time they leave, and there's a little nice thing about that, from the time they leave their home planet, which is in a star system about 100 light years from planet Earth, in real-time travel, it's an hour and 40 minutes.
That's
from
marvelous.
the time they leave and arrive here.
What kind of craft do they use? Do they teleport through space, or do they actually take a craft? Because not all of them.
No, it's a craft.
If it's craft.
No, they're really traveling.
Okay.
But it's through a traversable, what we call a traversable wormhole.
Uh-huh. Now, have you ever gone with them?
To the best of my knowledge, no. And the reason I state that, I can remember seeing the stars, that I've never seen them like that anywhere on Earth. But to the best of my knowledge, no.
So you don't have conscious memory, is what you mean?
Right.
Of these incidents, but you could have.
Oh, well, there's been some things really scary that's happened in my life. I mean, you feel it. You actually feel the fear before you actually see the entity. Mm-hmm. And
so a person like you, it's not just that you know, but also souls know what might happen. Souls are aware. In other words, we're all aware when we're going to die. We may not know it consciously, but we do know, right? So in that sense, I mean, it's not your responsibility either to prevent a happening or not, if that's something, in a sense, that we as souls agreed to the scenario happening, right?
Well, like I say, with them, they can even communicate with what we call the other side. But even at that, given their advanced technology, there are still forbidden questions.
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid saying something here. Let's just say that with the death of my son, they helped me visit with him one time.
Sure.
And like I told you, there's questions unless you ever ask. It was, I knew if I go back 15 minutes, I knew where he was, all those locations. If I could go back 15 minutes, I could stop the accident from happening. All I had to do was delay his movement anywhere along that 15 minutes, for just a minute or so, and I would alter the outcome. But once again, break off. Here's our reality. Here you created that other parallel. And for some odd reason, it's not good to create that other parallel. And they know this. Mm-hmm. And also, it was pointed out that you cannot escape the reality of this time continuum that we find ourselves, because his death is reality to me in this time frame I find myself. The Second World War happened. I must return to the point from which I depart within that space-time. Uh-huh. I'm not going to remain in the other one. And a lot of people, like they said the other night, you'd stay there. No, because it was pointed out to me quite clear. And I can't explain this. I couldn't go and debate it scientifically. But it's a natural barrier, which is why when time travel, when we discovered in our future, we're not going to find evidence of it being left any place along the line because of that natural barrier. We may even see them. We may sense them. We may even be able to interact to a degree, but nothing associated with the future tied with the day we discover time travel is going to be left in any altered reality. They say, okay, time travel hasn't happened yet because we would have evidence of it. There won't be any evidence left. And there's a natural barrier there. The whole situation is we are a part of something greater, more vast, and we're on an adventure. And we're part of that adventure. And we all play certain parts into that. But just like when you brought it up about they are us, and I said, he's heard me say this, which is probably he got a grin on his face when you said that. But the whole situation is we look for the differences in the species, the 57. Look for the similarities. When we look for those similarities, we then begin to realize just how much we have in common. And eventually we come to the point of one thought. They are us. Because everything within the universe is interconnected. All species are interconnected. Anybody ever ask why the common denominator is humanoid? You would not expect to find that if there was not some type of galactic blueprint. You become spiritually enlightened by going through this life. Even those that we say are insane. On the other side, they're not insane.
Maybe we could find out a little bit about the types of visitors that you've dealt with. Do you see them physically, or do you are you actually sort of in an altered state, or are you able to see them in your mind? And do you communicate with them telepathically?
Well, there's physical as you and I.
Okay.
And yes, it would be telepathic. Some could talk just like you and I.
Okay.
But you'll have a lot that they won't do that, and they'll just want to communicate with you. But there's one thing you have to keep in mind. This is what a lot of people overlook, and that's why it gets to be so hard to talk about. You're not just talking to them. They know, and they feel everything that you know and you feel. You go in, you feel what they feel. And see, some of these, we weren't real good guys. We use the term visitor,
Sure.
but they're treated like prisoners.
I understand.
And there is no law and protection to protect them.
Dan Burrish has talked about this as well.
In 1960, and I can provide you with the document, we have put together and formulated, NASA did, a book that they call Outer Space Law. It would not be until the 1970s that the question of the legal rights of an sentient being, not of this world, even came into play. And you know what those rights are? There aren't any.
Still, to this day, you're saying?
No more than what the rights would... A lab animal would have more rights than one of our visitors, and yet they are vastly superior to us in intellect and even in spirituality.